Irina, you haven't unmuted yourself.
I did unmute myself. Is it okay now? Yeah.
Fine.
Welcome everyone to today's Zoom Kabbalat Shabbat. It's quite a week. Can't breathe still for some of it. I'd like to welcome today that we're going to have Isaac Cohen leading us on the Kabbalat Shabbat. It's great that you're going to do that, Isaac, and we're very happy about it. But first of all, we're going to have Devar Torah from Leigh, who has promised me all sorts of things about tonight's Devar Torah. So would you like to start, Leigh?
Good evening, good Shabbos, everyone. And everything I told you, I really has changed, by the way. Right, good Shabbos, everybody. I'd like you all to cast your minds back to 1980, 43 years ago. It was a very, very eventful year. The Euro 80 football competition was held in Italy. It was won by West Germany. The Moscow Olympics took place, boycotted by America. Late July in that year, I went to Frankfurt to see Led Zeppelin. And 3 months later, the drummer died. Nothing to do with me, of course. And in December that year, John Lennon was murdered. Lots of other things happened as well. But what was simmering in the headlines from 79 through 1980 and 1981 was the fact of the Iranian hostage crisis in Tehran. The Shah had been overthrown, Khomeini had come to power, and the new guard, along with the students, had taken control of Iran and had invaded, overtaken, and occupied the American embassy in Tehran. At that time, I was working for an American bank in London, and none of us could quite understand why any country would want to go from being a Western country, Westernized country, into going back into the Middle Ages. The only way of really me coming to terms with it or grips with it was to read the Quran, which is what I did. I bought an authorized English translation of the Quran and I read it several times. And yes, there's bits about Abraham and there's bits about Moshe. There's some Christian bits in it. But some of the other stuff I just didn't, it was just anyway. But there was one verse in the Quran which surprised me, shocked me, and helped me understand what was going on. And that verse says, it is better to ransom the hostage than to feed the poor. And when I heard that, when I read that, I realized that we're dealing with a different ideology completely as to how these people are going to blackmail their enemies by holding and taking hostages. So now we come to and that's what happened in 1980, and nothing changed. The West stood back, negotiated, and now we come to the modern day, which is what we've got. We think we're doing the right thing. Israel gets horrendously attacked, and yet the world, it seems, is standing by the poor Palestinian and supporting them. The demonstrations that are going on, the headlines. At Celtic the other night in a Champions League football match, Celtic issued a statement before the game to the fans saying, do not bring any flags. I'm sure you've all seen the photographs. There were thousands of Palestinian flags being shown around the ground, thousands and thousands of them. I can assure you the Celtic supporters didn't go to the local shop to buy them. They were obviously handed out on the street to the fans as they made their way to the game. Why didn't the police stop it? Why didn't the stewards at the ground stop it? If it's acceptable, why isn't the Board of Deputies going to hand out flags at Arsenal, at Tottenham, at Brentford, at Brighton, Israeli flags to the supporters there? What would happen if they did that? Would they be stopped? We've reached a situation where I feel we have all been let down by the British public. Yes, it's all right for the chief, as he said a few weeks ago, that the King Charles is showing support and Rishi Sunak is showing support. and Keir Starmer is showing support. And in the background, the political parties are in turmoil. The Labour Party is on the threshold of falling apart yet again. And the Tories, ever mindful of the next general election, are keeping quiet, apart from Rishi Sunak. We have been terribly let down by the British public. There we were, rallying with them for Me Too campaign, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ. During lockdown, we were giving food to the frontline workers. Have we had any response? Have we had a word of support from them? And the answer is no, nothing. And it's worse because we have had schools, Jewish schools in London, closing, not closing because of COVID, not closing because there's a staff shortage, closing because it is not safe for the children to go to school. This tragedy started on Shemini Atzeres. In this particular year, as there is no Shabbos Chol HaMoed, on Shemini Atzeres we read Ecclesiastes, Keheles, written by a disillusioned King Solomon in his old age. Vanity, vanity, all is vanity, and there is nothing new under the sun. But chapter 3, a chapter made famous by Mary Hopkins' B-side to her Those Were the Days single, it's called Turn, 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 is direct quotes from Keheles. It's about a time to be born and time to die, etc. Maybe it's time for the Jewish community to think about what they should be doing. I'm not saying take a more aggressive line, but we're certainly not gluing ourselves to the pavement in our demonstrations. We're not throwing orange powder over anyone like Stop Oil is doing. We're all polite and nice. We're signing petitions, we're baking challah, we're waving little flags, but we're behaving nicely as we always do. And the British people don't care. So what are we going to do? It's time for each of us to reevaluate. It's curious that this week's Seder is Lech Lecha. It opens with the words, Vayomer Hashem el Avram, and God says to Abraham, Lech Lecha, go for your own benefit. Me'artzecha, from your land, u'mimoladetecha, from your birthplace, u'mibeis avicha, from your father's house, el ha'eretz asher areka, to a land that I will show you. Maybe it's time for us to go. It's a serious thought. For the first time in my life, I am seriously considering of making Aliyah. This country has let me down. Sorry, it has let us all down. We have to do something, because waving little flags and baking challahs is not going to do any good, and it's not getting any better. We have to do something. We have to have our religious leaders, our political leaders standing up, not writing for the Jewish Chronicle or the Jewish News, but to the Telegraph, appearing on television, stating the case, telling the truth. Because if they don't, we're finished. Because the British people have certainly shown they actually don't care. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Am Yisrael Chai.
Thank you so much, Leigh, as ever, for your words hitting home. It's a very, very difficult time. Very difficult. Thank you for the moment.